Hello, hello. This is Johnny Cycles with CyclesGaming.com, bringing you a very special edition of Keeping Modern Janky. This is a deck for a deck I played against with the Sliver Tribal deck I played a few weeks ago. A deck built by StankyJanky. It is Magda, Brazen Outlaw, Changeling, Tribal. And man, I played against it. I knew immediately that I wanted to play this deck. It looks so much fun. I love Magda, first of all. I love the concept. And the deck is super, not just super janky and super fun when you see it, but when you play it, you realize it's actually very powerful, very synergistic, has multiple routes to victory, and a lot more resiliency than I expected from it. But let's talk about the deck. Thank you to StankyJanky for the submission. All right, so what are we trying to do? Magda, Brazen Outlaw says anytime a dwarf becomes tapped, we get a treasure token. Sacrifice 5 treasure tokens, go get a dragon and an artifact. We're not going to play any more dwarves than Magda, and we don't really have any dragons, unfortunately, even though I love dragons. However, what we do have are multiple bombs that can win us the game as soon as we get them with these treasure tokens. But first, how do we get those treasure tokens? Well, we have all these changelings, which are dwarves, because they're everything, right? Every creature type. So we play a bunch of changelings, stick a Magda, swing in, get a bunch of treasure tokens, ideally 5, sack them before any blocking or before damage, go get usually a coat of arms. Suddenly all of our changelings become like 8/8s, 7/7s, and kill our opponent dead. Do this as early as turn 4 so far in my practice matches. Or we get an Eldrazi Monument, give them flying indestructible, +1/+1 if we're worried about sweepers and we're not going to die on the swing back, or if Coat of Arms isn't going to be enough to kill them for some reason. Or if we're playing burn and we're worried about death, Platinum Angel. Or something else, right? Like Belcher or something like that, where we can run out of Platinum Angel, buy some time. But we don't only need to attack to tap our changelings, and in fact we often don't want to attack to tap our changelings because they'll die in combat. They're lowly 1/1s and 2/1s, and even with Magda they're not very powerful. So what Moth Dust Changeling helps us with this, one of our best changelings. It's a 1-drop and it lets us tap any number of creatures. We can do it repeatedly, including itself, and it doesn't have to be a changeling, just any creature. And then get Moth Dust Changeling gets flying that way. Well, then we tap our whole board on our opponent's instep, get a whole bunch of treasure tokens, untap, then go to combat, get a bunch more treasure tokens, and let's say we have 10, then we get Coat of Arms and Eldrazi Monument. And we live the dream. Other ways of tapping things. Shacklegeist. Say our opponent has one big fatty, tap some more creatures. If they don't, tap some more creatures, get some treasure tokens, swing in. Unlicensed Hearse. Sometimes, like in one of our matches, they just scooped. Graveyard deck scooped on Licensed Hearse on turn 2 when they realized they weren't ever going to get anything from their graveyard from then on. But it allows us to accrue by tapping one of our changelings. Unsettled Mariner gives us some protection from spot removal. One of Plarg, it's nice as a filtering card, but what we really want is to play Augusta, Dean of Order, so that our tap creatures get +1/+0, and then when we go to attack, we can untap everything. So we attack, get a bunch of treasure tokens, then that triggers untap. Then we get, it says for whatever reason, then tap any number of creatures you control. Well, guess what? That is a perfect card for this deck. StankyJanky found a gem here. Then we tap them all again. Get a whole bunch of treasure tokens, then search up our finishers, kill our opponent dead that way. One of Kraza, the Swarm is 1. All of our changelings are also spiders. Suddenly our spiders all have haste, or come down with +1/+1. Nice that it hoses counter spells and doesn't let people prevent damage. Not that the One Ring exists anymore. 3-tree Mascot. One of our best changelings is 2/1 for 2 mana, but it does color fix, and we are a color hungry deck. We need our colors and we need them on time. The game, a lot of the games I've lost is because of mana screw, either not having the lands we need or not having the colors we need. I've already changed some of the mana base from what the original deck list was, adding another land at least, messing with some of the colors so that we have more white, for instance. So having a 3-tree Mascot can help fix our mana. Boros Charm protects our team from sweepers. A Johnny Nakado Pariah, well, all of our changelings are cats, so suddenly we have a board full of really powerful cats. Also, everyone knows, super powerful threat that has to be answered. So if we stick that on turn 2, our opponent spends a lot of time trying to answer all that it brings, then maybe our Magda has a better chance of living. Flame of Anor, guess what? All of our changelings are wizards. We get to draw 2 cards and destroy an artifact or do 5 damage to target creature. So this allows us to dig for our combo pieces. Roaming Throne, I haven't seen it in action yet, but it doubles up our triggers. I already mentioned our finishers. We have a 1-of here, Struggle, Survive. A little bit of removal, a little bit of graveyard hate. Probably a flex spot if I had to be honest. Valiant Changeling, it can come down really early as turn 3. 3/3 double strike. So it's a nice big threat on the battlefield that can close out a game pretty quickly. And then our finishers, Platinum Angel, already talked about. So in the sideboard, we have, now this is where the fun really starts, because when you're playing Changelings, all these creatures that have tribal synergies become legitimate cards. So Bishop of Wings, woo boy, man. All of our Changelings are angels. Suddenly we're getting 4 life for all of our Changelings. When they die, all of our Changelings die, they get 1/1 Spirit token. I just played a match against Is It Prowess. The sound, so frustrated. The game I played against StankyJanky, the sound was messed up. This game against Is It Prowess, the sound didn't work. I'll see what I can do to salvage it. But Bishop of Wings won us the third game in the match. The Mirror, Soul of a Spider. Now this is my edition. StankyJanky had sent in Grand Arbiter, I believe. But all of our Changelings are spiders. Suddenly we get to draw a card off of each of our Changelings. Unfortunately, just once a turn. Otherwise, Meltdown is my edition as well. Help against Affinity. Wrath of Skies are supposed to be 3, only have 2. Sometimes, I get it, right? When you need it, you need it. But a lot of times it's just a dead card, or we haven't been able to cast it because we haven't been able to find a second white source. So I haven't seen this one in action, but I have a feeling it's a necessary evil. Dire Dawnbringer synergizes with our Changelings. Boromir prevents all those free mana spells, but also gives us a layer of protection against sweepers. And then finally, Celestial Purge. This could really be anything, I guess. But this takes care of some of the problematic permanents out there, such as Blood Moon, or some of like one of the Overlords, or the Baelmerk, or Liliana I played against. So this is kind of a catch-all against some of the problem decks, and Corey Steelcutter. Alright, so this is the Magda Brazen Outlaw Changeling Tribal deck submitted by StankyJanky, and it is so much fun. I mean, I'm just blown away by how much fun this deck is. So many synergies. I mentioned the multiple angles of attack. I've won on turn 4 with sacking treasures and getting one a coat of arms. I've won by hitting for 50 plus damage with a coat of arms, and I've also just grinded out victories with these janky janky changelings. You end up flooding the board with a bunch of little creatures. Modern is a format where people are doing so much damage to themselves with their mana base and some of the spells. You end up getting in a position where you win the race. Against the Is It Prowess deck, they thought they were ahead on board with an Urza Saga land, getting 2 giant constructs and Lava Spur boots, swinging in, and then suddenly, within a turn, I was in the driver's seat. They couldn't attack anymore, and they just sat there as I swung over with angels that I got from Bishop of Wings, and it was a thing of beauty. So we are often grinding out victories with this hodge-podge collection of changelings and just some value creatures, as we are sacking treasures and getting one of our finishers. That being said, I will say, I'm pretty sure you want to mulligan at least once, unless your hand is amazing, to try to get a Magda. She is the centerpiece of the deck. These Moth Dust Changeling and Magda are our 2 best cards for executing our combos. So if you have ideally a Magda in hand, keep it if you can. Otherwise, you're going to be digging, and you can get that janky beat win, like I said, but the deck runs a lot better and is a lot more fun when you have a Magda out. So anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. Hope you enjoy the gameplay, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. This is Johnny Cycles. Thanks for watching.